You're listening to the Peasinner Network. For more great podcasts, go to peasinner.com.au.
Spoiler alert. I mean, honestly, if you listen to this podcast, spoilers.
Spoilers. I was going to say something probably inappropriate there.
Go on.
What he really wants is to be edged. So...
Staying in. People of the universe, please attend carefully. The message which follows is of vital importance to you all. We present to you a case study of one of the most dangerous minds in the universe. A history of the lives and times of the renegade Time Lord known as the Master.
The Master. Call me Master.
The choice is simple. Join us and continue listening, or face total annihilation.
Listen.
They are the Master, and you will obey them.
You will obey me.
Please attend carefully. Hello and welcome to Please Attend Carefully, the Doctor Who podcast about the most magisterial of malefactors. I'm Ciarán Moffatt.
I'm Amber Patrick.
And each week we bring you a chapter from the lives and times of the renegade Time Lord known universally as the Master. This week we'll be looking at the second part of the Anti-Genesis audio anthology from Big Finish. It's from 2019, and we're looking at episode 3, Shockwave by Alan Barnes, and episode 4, He Who Wins by Nicholas Briggs. Amber, tell us what they're about.
With the War Master unraveling the reality around them and taking over the genesis of the Daleks themselves look to a different hero to save them in the time of need, bringing through another Master to help them.
Dun, dun, dun. Love it. So we start on, I love this.
Yeah.
So episode 3 is basically, it's not about the War Master, is it? It is about the alternate Master.
Yeah, Derek Jacobi's barely in it.
Yep. So this alternate Master, which is played by our love, Mark Gatiss, and it is the Master from Sympathy for the Devil and also from The New Adventures of Bernie Summerfield. He's the Master from the same universe as David Warner's Doctor. And when we find him, he's like in a castle, like he's in a...
At the end of time.
Yeah, like the time and space has ended. The universe has collapsed onto just that castle. He's got some henchmen come in.
Yeah, it also kind of made me feel a bit like masterful when they're all in like a castle. It just kind of gave me the same vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
It always ends with a castle at the end of the universe.
Right. So he's just in this castle and his henchmen decide that they're not going to hench for him anymore. And so it's
all very gay, I must say.
It's just like, come over here, shortest at the front, tallest at the back.
Yeah. And he's
Coat me in exotic unguents.
It's awesome. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that anymore. We're going to kill you.
Well, no, they don't kill him. They're just like, we can't kill you. We're going to kill ourselves. Like, we're going to kill each other. And so he's just like, I'll just, revive you again. Not if we do it this way. And so they kill each other. And he's just like, well, this is dull.
Yeah, and he sits there for 10,000 years just twiddling his thumbs.
And it's a really beautiful little transition because nothing actually happens. It's just him going, I don't know what was more boring, the first 100 or the second 100. And then he's just like, 500 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, as we know, this character is patient. They'll wait.
Yeah, and he is wonderfully camp. We mentioned this in Sympathy for the Devil, but he is never more camp than in this story.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, I love it. And so then the Daleks contact him saying, like, these are the Daleks from, shall we say, the main universe, our universe.
Yes.
Who the Master has started unraveling time and space because he's created the Daleks. These are the last remaining Daleks that were created by Davros from the universe that is being destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And they go looking for the one person they think can help them defeat the Master. The Master.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I love when the call comes through and he's just like, oh, yeah.
Yes.
Like, he's so excited.
And
He's
it's like
oh,
Daleks,
yes.
and he's like, yay! He's like, if anyone can save me, like, I guess he knows they can.
Obviously, we don't know that much about this Master's history, right? Because we know about our Master's history.
Mm.
And he's dealt with the Daleks several times before. So one would assume just because the universe is the universe is infinite, in inverted commas, but the size of the universe, surely this Master must have met the Daleks.
Yeah, absolutely. He's willing to just go with it.
Yep.
He's like, sure, let's go. What are we doing, guys?
Yeah. He's been so bored for 10,000 years, he's just like, yep, great.
Dalek Dimension Ship has pinpointed your reality. We have need of you.
So come and get me.
You are now a prisoner of the Daleks.
Yes!
So then the story goes to Gallifrey.
We basically get a medieval farm AU.
Right, yeah. It's just like, what might have happened to Gallifrey? And I love that there's these wonderful references, like as if Gallifrey was never brought out of the dark times.
Yeah.
Because they're at war with the great vampires, which is something like it's just a throwaway line, but it's something that's been mentioned in Doctor Who expanded universe stuff for a while now. Like, we know that Big Finish is bringing out an adaptation of goth opera, which is one of the most popular Doctor Who novels, and that's about the great vampires in Gallifrey. So I'm very keen. I was very happy when I heard that.
Yeah. I love that we hear, like, President Livia. She's got a new title. It was like
She's
Ultima.
She's like a tax inspector.
Yeah. And she is like riding around on a horse, and she has a personal guard, and Narvin runs a farm.
Yeah, a farm that is doing terribly.
Yeah. See, fanfic writers never stop reaching for your dream. If this can make it into a Big Finish audio, your AU can make it into a Big Finish audio.
I just love the fact that like the grain is being eaten by these grubs, which
attract birds, cats,
flater shrews, which are like which are the bats that I love. So in Big Finish, like the bats that live in the Doctor's cloister room are flater shrews.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the flater shrews eat the grubs, and then the womp rats eat the flater shrews, which is it's a Star Wars gag, right?
Yeah.
And then the womp rats like attract the grubs, so it's like a circle of life.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, well, you need something that hunts the womp rats."
Yeah, it's something like some
oh,
sort
a cat,
of
and he's like, "I'm allergic to cats."
I'm allergic to cats. Yeah,
I know the feeling, Narvin.
What an odd piece of information about Narvin. Like, we know that Narvin is just this cockroach that, you know, politically has survived, like, to the envy of, like, I, Claudius, right? It's such political intrigue. Like, if Narvin was in Game of Thrones, he'd be on the Iron Throne by the end of it.
He's like the little finger.
Yeah, only I doubt he'd die. But he's allergic to cats. It's just an odd thing to know.
So this AU gets interrupted by...
The Alt Master turns up with 4 Daleks. Poor guy. He's obviously has to keep saying the same thing over and over again.
Yes.
Your universe is collapsing. We need you. And
I do love when it's got one of my favorite lines ever, when he's trying to... First of all, he says, I see you there, Narvin, hiding behind Livia's skirts.
Yes.
Which is a great line that will get repeated a lot throughout whenever he meets him. But I also love the line where he's like, here, Narvin. Narvin. Come, Narvin.
Do you know what I love about that line? The fact that, like, oh, Narvin, I see you hiding behind Livia's skirts. Oh, I see you hiding in her shadow. I see you hiding. Like, the Master knows it's a good gag.
Yeah.
And he keeps repeating it with the same level of... It's just like, no, I can do this every time. It's great.
He would love that. Yeah, I just love calling Narvin like he's a pet. Come on, Narvin, let's go.
Yeah. So... What we find out is that the Daleks, the Dalek Time Controller, which if you're a fan of the Eighth Doctor stories and the Time War stories, you'll know. So the Dalek Time Controller and the Dalek Time Squad and the Master are trying to find this sort of linchpin for the collapse of the universe, and they know it's one of these people, and they need to get rid of them. So they keep going back in time until this temporal time wave like catches up to them and destroys them. So they keep going back in time, and they've narrowed it down, and they go for Narvin, and not Narvin. It's like a kid's picture book. Is it Narvin? It's not Narvin.
Who's destroying the fabric of reality? Is it President Livia?
No, it's not Livia. We need to write that book now.
Yeah. Little Gallifreyan picture book.
Yep. So the Alt Master having these conversations in different timelines with Livia and Narvin and stuff.
Yes.
In like the main timeline, they have a meeting in the Death Zone.
Oh, yes, I did love that.
Yes. And how did the Alt Master get there? He got there by power boosted open-ended transmat beam.
Which this audio loves. The writer of this had clearly watched The Five Doctors before they wrote this.
Yeah, and loved the way that it was
constantly, because it's always, we need a soundboard and that needs to be on the soundboard.
Power boosted open-ended transmat beam.
And Doctor's body and that need to be on the soundboard.
The thing is, as we were saying about the Alt Master reveling in this, because he's been alone for 10,000 years. He doesn't care about the fact the universe is just like being destroyed.
Yeah.
He's just having so much fun. There's one point he calls Narvin, my old chum, my old fruit, my old china. Which is beautiful. And also when they start like not caring, like being a bit more short with him, he's just like, oh, you're no fun anymore, which is a Monty Python gag.
This is another aside. I do love that at one point Narvin says, "Oh, Barusa's boils," as like a sort of this is a phrase, and I like the idea of just because I've got to remember that Barusa is like their principal.
Yeah.
It's just the idea of Barusa just being like that's his legacy. Barusa's boils, like, and him just being like. Just an exasperated teacher who all of these students just give shit like all the time, like. Of all the legacy, Rassilon and Omega, and Barusa was always hoping that he would be one of those, and it just never happens. It's just...
And also the Alt Master says, you boys, to the Daleks, and he goes, girls? I suppose some of you must have been girls once. Which is a really oddly self-aware line. Honestly, now I'm just doing favourite quotes, which are, it's deja vu all over again. And QE and inevitably D. And there's a great line where he says, compared to some versions of me, I'm a saint.
I've got that written too, which I guess is true at this point. Like, to be fair, the Daleks did pick a very sensible master to do this.
Yes.
I think Bruce Master would also have probably been as successful in this situation.
Yes.
Whereas someone like the Saxon Master would just be feral and...
Yeah, he's just like, as we've seen from Masterful, he doesn't care if the universe ends.
Yeah, exactly. So they got a good one to do this. They got a controlled one.
You're the master of these Daleks.
Zodin's ribs, no. My Dalek friends are very much the masters of themselves. That's not to say they're the boss of me, mind.
This whole episode is about them trying to figure out who it is.
Because then they think it might be from the previous part. Her name is
Lamarius,
who they think maybe because she was sent to stop the War Master, but she failed. So maybe her failing was what undid it. So we need to kill her to stop that happening. But no, it's not her either.
Yep. Which is really good. And it's funny that they put it in this story because I wanted like a political intrigue type story where it was all about trying to pinpoint turning points in history. Like that's what you want from a Time War story, right?
Yeah.
This episode is great. It is very repetitive, but it does not feel unwelcome.
No, it's the good kind of time travel repetitive.
Yeah.
Where Master tries a different line
joke
every time. It's not the same line he's having fun with it. He's workshopping it every time he comes back.
Plus the punchline in the end, right, is that he says, to think when we started we had 10,000 Daleks. So like the power is running down on the Dalek ship, and each successive jump they need to remove a time shield from one of the Daleks to make sure that they still have the power to jump again.
Yep.
And
because the time shield's holding them concurrent with the true timeline. So they've got to protect that.
There's one great universe that they go to that is basically ours, or like as close to ours as possible, where Livia and Narvin are there. They try to go back and kill Lamarius, but Lamarius gets loose and she tries to kill everyone. And she manages to, as the Master says, shoots Narvin and Livia right in the symbiotic nuclei, which means they can't regenerate.
Yeah.
Even though we know that Narvin is on his last regeneration. the Master gets Livia to nominate him as the president of Gallifrey.
I love that moment.
Oh, it's just like, this universe is doomed? Yes. Well, in that case, I happily nominate you as the...
And then he's like, I wrote here, giggling, laying on his bed, kicking his feet, because he's like, president. Like, he has this little moment where he's like, yeah, I did it. At least I'm president for a few minutes.
Yep.
And I was like, go you. So you're flourishing.
Live your best life.
Yes, you're doing so well.
And that's the thing, like, you know how we've talked before about the decayed Master when he regenerates into the reborn Master? There's this sort of joie de vivre. He's like lithe, he's limber, he's running around, he's active because he's happy. This Master has spent the last 10,000 years stuck in a castle going...
Yes, and
now it's just like, I don't care what's happening. The universe is ending, but it's great.
And we know that his reward is that he is going to get dropped off in a universe with like none of this political stuff.
Yeah.
Just somewhere where he can have fun and be free and flourish and frolic.
Yeah. Live your best life.
Yes.
Slay.
So there's another point that I want to talk about that happens in this.
Yeah.
It's a War Master thing that happens. And
the big point.
And I will absolutely go feral over one of his lines that he says in the moment when he does it.
Go on, bring it, like, set the scene for us, Amber. Set the scene.
So he's, in his little bunker, because the War Master's basically like, I'm staying here.
Yep.
He takes a 20-year break from all this.
He's doing an inventor, right?
Yeah.
Like he's setting it up and then keeping himself like winding time forward.
So you Daleks go make more of the travel machine shells.
Yep.
Goes in.
Yep. I mean, I don't know whether he does have it. Like, do you think he like sets the time, like goes into the time vortex and then goes back out, like actually has a nap, or whether he's just like, you know what, I just need this to be sped up, so I'm just gonna quickly knit
forward. I assume he just travelled in his TARDIS.
Yeah, just knits forward.
20 years.
Yep.
And they built his army of travel machines.
Yeah, like tens of thousands.
Yeah, 700,000, I think. It's a number like that. And then he decides...
Well, he sets the clock for a very specific day.
Yes.
A very specific day that he knows about. And when he wakes up, he sends Daleks to a specific map reference.
Yeah. The Fourth Doctor's there.
It's Genesis of the Daleks.
Yeah.
The Fourth Doctor has arrived at the point in time where the Time Lords have sent him, and only the Master's changed time. Like, the Daleks are already here.
Yeah, and so there's two companions.
Sarah Jane Smith and Harry Sullivan.
And so we should point out these characters aren't in this audio. They're not voiced. He sent a patrol out and he's basically watching this on a monitor.
But the thing is, it's such a, like, the way it's described is so visually. And because if you've seen Genesis of the Daleks, which I think most Doctor Who fans have, because it is always in the top 10 Doctor Who stories of all time. So you can see them, like, you can see the Doctor with his, like, hat on and his scarf done up tight. You can see Sarah's yellow rain jacket. And like you can see it in your mind's eye, and like Harry in his duffel coat, like you can just visually you can see it.
And then the line that just drove me absolutely crazy, and I'll never stop thinking about, and it's going to take over the next few minutes of this podcast completely. The War Master is watching this scene, and he says, "Oh, if only you were the earlier face than this. If only those two humans were Joe Grant and the Brigadier." I might have spared them. Yeah,
I might have captured them and brought them here.
What? Are you kidding me? Yep. I love this so much.
So, so if it was Unit Era Master and if it was the Joe Grant and the Brigadier, he would capture them and talk to them. But as it's the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane and Harry, he has Daleks exterminate them.
Yeah.
And not just exterminate them. Like, they're dead on the ground, and the Daleks said, they have been exterminated. It's just like, go again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Keep firing at them.
Keep firing on them.
Because there's this theme that he says this line, because, like, I love, I guess, Three Gardo is the way to say it. Three and Roger Delgado. I mean, I love that. And then this line where he wishes that is who this was and who he was sent me insane. But then he says, as they're shooting and killing the Doctor and his companions, he says, it's better this way. Nostalgia is a sickness.
Yes.
And I just thought it was so powerful. Like, he knows that deep down, there is a weakness inside him that he might have spared them if they had just been the different faces.
Yeah.
Like just the different people that he knew and must have enjoyed his time with and loved, because he was willing to spare them compared to slaughtering them like he did for.
Yeah.
And the whole like shoot them again, it's just this way of him destroying any sense of nostalgia. Like, I cannot be weak. I sense weakness inside me, but this face right now is not weak. Shoot them again.
Yeah.
Beat that nostalgia out of me.
It's funny. It's a beautifully written line, and it's also rather insightful, because nostalgia, quite literally, is a word for an illness, like algia, like fibromyalgia. Like that's where the word nostalgia comes from. It is a sickness of remembrance, right?
Yeah.
Of, you remember things as they were being better than they are now, and that's some sort of sickness because you stay stuck in the past.
Yeah, I'm feeling nostalgic. I'm feeling this sickness for the past, and it
is an amazing scene. And then the cutback later where he's just watching the video on a loop.
Oh my God, yeah.
Over, and he's watching the Doctor and his companions be killed over and over and over again on a loop.
Yeah, and Derek Jacobi, it's only in audio, but even if he was doing it, acting wise, would nail the facial expressions.
Yeah.
Once again, this version of the Master that, even though he has just admitted to himself he would spare them because they were his old friends, he cannot do that. He has to push through that. He has to destroy them. So just watching it and just like reinforcing himself, like, nope, I'm killing them. I've killed them. I've killed them. Like, yeah, it just probably one of my favorite Master moments ever. I think I absolutely loved this moment, like, for him.
It's insane, right? It is absolutely crazy. And so while this is happening, obviously the Alt Master and the Dalek Time Controller are trying to work out, because they've worked out it isn't Livia, it isn't Narvin. What are they going to do? And so they set up their next plan, which leads us into the final episode, He Who Wins, which is a wonderful reference to the Five Doctors.
Yes.
So what the Alt Master and the Dalek Time Controller start doing is basically fucking with the War Master. They start
gaslighting him.
They gaslight him.
Gaslight gatekeep Gallifrey.
Gaslight gatekeep Gallifrey.
Yeah.
They learned it all from Narvin.
Yeah.
Our t-shirts will soon be available. Would you buy Please Attend Carefully merchandise? Shirts? Beanies? Magnets? I don't know. Pins? Whatever. We want to know. Do you want logos? Do you want memes? We don't know. Let us know. Tumblr, Instagram, Patreon, or even just in the comments of this episode, wherever you're listening. They start getting into his subconscious, right? And the Alt Master starts trying to convince the War Master. It's like, you can't keep doing this. Like,
yeah. Well, I think when they tell him that, but we even see at the very start of this episode, it opens with him. He's like built this palace that spans several star systems, and
he says, like, you look up and you see the universe is burning.
Yeah.
Like, this is, make no mistake, this episode highlights that this whole box set, this story, the War Master wins.
Yeah.
The War Master does not at any point lose. He gets everything he wants.
Yeah, total complete victory over the universe. Master of the Daleks.
He's the master of the Daleks. He's the ruler of the universe, and he has killed the Doctor.
Yep.
Not just killed the Doctor. He's erased the Doctor from large parts of history. There's a bit where
Livia doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, Narvin just said, "Oh, the Doctor," and Livia's like, "Who's that?" And
because time is just fluctuating, and she doesn't know him, but they do, and I love at the start, there's this line where he's done all this, he's addressed the Daleks, and he goes into his like laboratory, and one of the Daleks comes in and is like, "We need our orders, like, what's next?" And he's like, yes, later. And I just wrote in my notes, he's just a tired old queen.
Yeah, right.
Because he's just like, he's still got that sort of just that Derek Jacobi air about him. And he's got everything, and he's just tired. He's just like, he doesn't want it. I think he finds.
Yeah. Well, and this is where the screwing with his head comes into it, right? Basically, the Alt Master appears to him in dreams and is basically saying, "Beware the Ides of March."
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's Julius Caesar.
Yeah, they're going to kill you. You know they will. Just like they did Davros.
Exactly, because you can create Daleks, but there's no way you can stop them from being Daleks.
Yeah.
Because that's, like, the Daleks were always going to turn on Davros. And they're going to turn on the Master. And they do start to turn on the Master. That I think the Master's biggest problem started when he gave a single Dalek an identity.
Mm-hmm.
So the War Master calls
Yes.
one of the first Dalek to have been made, the one that was made out of Elrond. He says,
Dalek Supreme?
yes, he's just like, fine, you can be, you're going to be by 2IC. I do not understand this designation. Second in charge, fine, you can be the Dalek Supreme.
Yes. Go tell the other Daleks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And because this Dalek now has superiority over other Daleks, it's...
One of their own is ruling them.
Yes, exactly.
And they understand that one of their own can rule them.
Yes. It's an interesting thing. I suppose we should probably talk about Daleks and the way that they both rail against but also crave individuality. Like, Daleks don't like being individual, and like we've seen in Russell T Davies, the cult of Skaro, individuality is something that was made as a sort of experiment to help them win the war. But we have like supreme Daleks and Dalek time controllers and Dalek time strategists and things like that. You sort of go, the Daleks don't like it, but at the same time they do. Like, they do.
Yeah. Well, I think it depends how much of the hive mind you think connects them.
Yeah.
Like, how strong is that hive mind? Because if they do really just have that, then they're all technically in charge.
Yeah.
They just funnel it through this one voice.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen, like you said, is it Dalek Sec who betrays them?
Yes, exactly.
So clearly the hive mind is a bit detached from that when he went through the time vortex.
Yeah.
Because he was able to betray them. Whereas if they were a hive mind, they would know that that was going to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, and I mean, I suppose it's one of those plot protection, right?
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want with them, but yeah. So the Daleks now have one of their own running them, and like they've got all of they're running the whole universe to the point that Gallifrey has now been conquered long before the Time Lords ever actually arose.
Yeah. So when he says about Gallifrey, they're like, we do not know this designation.
Oh yeah, it is a like all planets in the universe, it is now like a Dalek colony with human beings on it, or Gallifreyans on it, and he asked for some to be brought because I think he's feeling again like this nostalgia thing. This whole story is a sort of, it's a cautionary tale about getting what you want, right?
Yeah. Because like not only does do we have the Unbound Master being like, oh, beware, things like that, but then they play that off by getting the Dalek from our universe,
the time control,
to appear in front of him and pretend to disobey him, to start sowing the seeds that they aren't listening to you. And I love that this Dalek has to they don't have teeth. But essentially, if you ever want to hear a Dalek speak through gritted teeth, it happens in this audio when it's like, hail the Master, and it doesn't want to say it, but it has to because it's acting. This might be the first time we've ever had a Dalek acting.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one's like doing subterfuge, which is not usually within their remit.
Right, yeah.
And then the Master can come back, the Unbound Master can come back and be like, oh, have they started disobeying you? Like, I know they have because I sent one to disobey you directly.
Yeah.
I love that we do, as you mentioned, the episode is named after the Rassilon.
Well, yeah, and so the old Master says to the War Master, that Rassilon was right all those years ago. To lose is to win, and he who wins shall lose. And so this story is called He Who Wins. And there is no way that the Master has won. But what is the price of that? There is no one in the universe standing up to him.
Yeah.
There is no more challenge. He has helped the Daleks conquer the entire universe. What do they need him for now? Because he's not Dalek.
Yeah, and there's nothing to do, basically. I love that he even says again, he goes, I don't even have the Doctor to share it with.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm just going crazy listening to this episode. Like, it's just so good.
Yep.
It's such a, as you say, he wins, but he doesn't want to win. We mentioned it before. Like, you see it all the time. He doesn't really want to win. He wants to play the game.
Yeah.
And this time he played the game so well that he won, and he doesn't have any competition.
Yes.
Except himself.
What the Master wants, right, is what the Master thrives on is almost winning,
Yeah.
so that he can keep
That tantalizing is so close.
Yeah.
Carrot on a stick. There it is.
like the Master, Planet Doom. He ends with, like, he hasn't really won. He's gotten out of there on a ship by the skin of his teeth, and he's got a bit of an axe on that he might be able to do something with later. But that's it, right? Like, he's...
Yeah, it's like also, the Tremas Master in 5 Doctors in the novelization where he gets, teleported away by Rassilon back to his time stream. His departing words were, "Oh, well, as always next time."
Yeah, exactly.
But, didn't get there, but we'll go again. Whereas this Master doesn't even have that. There's no next time. He's done it.
Yeah.
He's just sitting at the end of the universe by himself, king of everything.
Yeah. They even say it in this story. It's hubris, right? It is the Greek idea of hubris, that you are prideful against the gods, that, things that you've done, it's eventually going to be your downfall.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening to the War Master. The Daleks are turning on him. He asks for a delegation from Gallifrey, and guess who it is? It is Narvin, Livia, and Kraslus.
I like the sort of self-fulfilling downfall of it all. Like the Unbound Master sets these seeds that they're going to betray you. Then they plant the fake Dalek there to pretend to disobey him, which then makes the Master be like, subconsciously, I'm going to get some Time Lords in here with me for whatever reason.
Even though they're not Time Lords, because Time Lords have never existed in this universe.
Well, his old Time Lord friends from his time. And then that then makes the Daleks question him.
Yes.
So the Alt Master's plan has worked. He set about the downfall by just planting these seeds.
They point out, so at one point the Alt Master points out that, like, him and the Daleks, the proper Daleks, the real Daleks, know that they can't kill him.
Yes.
Because if they kill him, anything could happen. It could destroy the universe, or it could cement the timeline in place.
Yeah.
And then there's no going back.
If his own death were the answer, then you could have killed him at any point in his history. But didn't you reason the solution was more complex than that? That the risks to your timeline were too high?
That is true.
So they all come together. We get every character, essentially.
Yes. There's also the great line from the War Master when one of the Daleks disobeys him, which is, "Damn your eye stalk!"
He's so done with them. I love how tired
and
Jacobi plays this.
That's right. And there's that line where he says, "Oh, yes, you're from an aborted timeline." It's just like, alternate universe is the politically correct phrase.
We get this beautiful scene where they show up and they're like, "Why have you brought us here? Nostalgia again?" Like,
they don't know who he is.
Kinship, and even he doesn't know why he's really brought them there.
Yep. But in doing so, so the Daleks start to revolt against the War Master, and the Alt Daleks and the Time Controller realize that the one person that they've been looking for who controls all of this is Kraslus.
Yeah.
Because the Master's plan involved the Master using power from a sun to power the telepathic circuits of his TARDIS and link it to Kraslus's mind. So after all of this, like, the one thing that is keeping the bridge between those universes is Kraslus's mind.
Yeah. And when we if you rewind back to the farm, Kraslus was there on the farm with Narvin. He was the only one who was still with Narvin.
Yeah.
And so it was still correct that someone that they were looking for was there.
Yes.
They just all overlooked Kraslus, as is the War Master's plan, because he says to Kraslus, we're gonna do this telepathic link, and you're a tiny small man. You're gonna do great in politics. I'm gonna send you up through the ranks of Gallifrey, and when you've gotten to exactly the right point, I can come back.
Yes, exactly.
It's perfectly written. I really love the themes and all of this. It's little lines that you set up, but then when you reflect back on old parts of the audio that you've already listened to, you go, "Oh yeah, Kraslus was there."
Yeah.
And I didn't see him, but that was the Master's plan, to implant someone who you don't see.
Yes, even though he's walking around what I keep thinking of as henching. Because he is a henchman's henchman. He really is.
TARDIS power reserves boosted by Mustasan's solar energy.
Now that's better, isn't it?
What next, my master?
Next, we must invest for the future, Kraslus. And you are crucial to my plans.
Am I?
Yes.
The Alt Master and the Dalek time controller or strategist rescue the War Master and go on the Dalek time ship, which is falling to bits. It's about ready to be destroyed.
Enough power for one more jump. They have to figure out what point to go to.
Yep. And so the Master goes back to this point where he takes this power from this sun to link the minds with Kraslus. And we have a situation where the War Master has to talk himself down.
Yeah. I love the effect of the Master going back in time. It's like this echo that just drags and connects to the moment where it's his old self, like his own voice connecting back to his old self. It's beautiful.
Very well. Here goes. Very well. Very well. Very well. Here goes. Here goes. Here goes. Here goes. Here goes.
Yes, as you say, he's got to talk himself down.
Yeah. Which, of course, the Master being the Master, he doesn't believe it at first. He's like, no.
Yeah.
You could be anyone.
Yeah, I like that. Well, the War Master's like, well, I knew where you were, and I know that if you get Kraslus to scan my ship, you'll find that it's falling apart, and if he does this, he'll find out this, and, you know, the War Master's like, oh, Kraslus, humor him. Let's, take a look at his ship and stuff, and Kraslus can confirm, everything he's saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I so love... I mean, even the Doctor, I guess, doesn't trust his future selves, but I love the War Master seeing himself and being like, no, I don't trust you. And you're like, it's you.
It's the same one, right?
It's you. It's
he
you.
He even says, are you from my past or my future?
Yeah.
Which is a great sort of line, I think. I forget, did they kill Kraslus? I forgot in the end. Yeah.
Yep, they do, because that's how they reset everything, because the reality falls apart because he was the linchpin.
Yeah, exactly.
So with him gone, it falls back to how it all was.
And the Alt Master manages to just skip out to another dimension just as everyone else is.
I love that because he's like fading. He's like, oh, but I need a jump start. I need the final element boost of power to push me through. And then like a Dalek shoots him and he's like, thank you, as he like disappears off into his reality.
Yeah, off to a new reality where he can wreak havoc.
Yeah.
Yes, and then the War Master is escaping in his TARDIS, which is crashing. The time control, like time's reset, and the Daleks go, okay, we can use the Master. Like we can use him, track him down, use him, and that's the end of that story. And it actually leads into the beginning of Only the Good, the box set Only the Good.
Yeah.
So it's funny. Like at the time, we honestly thought, because they'd only planned 4 box sets, right? So we thought that 4 box sets was all we were getting of the War Master. We've had so many more now, which is brilliant. I say so many more. We've had like 4 or 5.
Getting more though. There's one coming out this year.
There is one coming out, but we don't know whether or not there's going to be more after that because, of course, the director and producer, like the series producer, was Scott Hancock, who no longer works for Big Finish. So they would have to give someone else the job of producer. And
yeah, I guess, and depending on how much Derek Jacobi wants to keep doing it, though it always seems like he's having fun. The laugh he has at the end of this,
really high pitched.
Yeah.
The laugh when he makes when he puts the power into Kraslus.
Yeah,
he's enjoying himself so much. It's
funny when you think he's like probably alone in a recording booth having that much fun.
Yes,
it's fantastic.
Contact.
I just want to mention a quick sort of it's Doctor Who. It's all, the whole wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey thing.
Yep.
But we get a lot of mentions to Rassilon's tomb and the Alt Master quoting what was heard that day.
Yeah.
But we believe the Alt Master to be before Ainley.
But he does say at one point that he has read through all of the files about the Master.
Okay.
The Master's, yeah. Because he's just like, I was bored, basically. Like, that we were on our way. Like
that line.
The Daleks have basically given him a dossier on his alternate self, and he's read through. Like, what must that be? It's just like, oh God, why? Why would you do that? Oh,
I like the Master at some point sitting down to document his failures because no one was like present.
Yeah,
I guess to see all that. One of the doctors at some point sat down. Better add a report about what happened in the death zone.
Yeah.
I think this is one of my favorite pieces of Master media.
This is why I desperately wanted us to do it. I was like so keen for us to get this.
I love getting to see the AU Master, the Unbound Master, having fun
Yep.
and running around and being pitted against himself. And I feel like definitely the way that the War Master is portrayed in this, because when we do these audios of him, we're used to him winning or maybe just barely missing out, but just skipping away and not caring. In this, it's Derek Jacobi getting to do a version that's tired.
Yeah.
It's bitten off more than he can chew. That's not content with victory. Like it's
This should be the apex master story as far as I'm concerned. Like this should be the master story that you like look at for like as just to define all master stories, because it is he has won, but it's no real victory. Like what happens when you actually win and get everything you want?
Yeah. I think for me as well, just that scene where he just watches the Doctor and his companions and he was like, if they were other faces that I like, I'd probably spare them.
Yeah.
Kill them now before anything happens. Like kill them, keep shooting them. I can't think about that. I hate that I even had the thought that I might have spared them. Like just butcher them basically. Like just that cruelty that comes out when he's faced with the idea that, he could have been nice to them.
Yeah.
It's really, I think, an understanding of the character that this entire team of writers, producers,
Absolutely.
have for this character, and Derek Jacobi really showed it. And then I love, that we get the AU Master as the only one who can stop him. And he kind of does it so easily. All he has to do is suggest that, as you said, the Ides of March are coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the end, he's still the master.
Yeah.
So he understands how the master's mind works.
Yeah.
And also, as we said, like he's been given the entire dossier of the master's history, probably ripped from the Matrix or the Dalek hive mind or something. But yeah, I want more. I want more Camp Master.
Yes.
Like I just want more of it.
I would love more of him too. He was a delight in this to listen to, and I think he played off so well against Narvin and Livia. Like as a reoccurring character, he would be fantastic.
Yeah, and also, like, let us not forget the two leads playing the two masters in this story, both gay men.
Yep.
Great.
And like I said, tired old queen.
Yep.
And a campy romp.
Yes.
Two halves of a coin.
With the Daleks, war is never over. They were born to fight, to exterminate, to wipe out all other life forms, and they will kill you too one day.
No!
The only question you have to ask yourself is, when? Good luck.
Okay, Ciarán, were you attending carefully?
I think I might actually be good on this one.
Okay, so I think I only did 3 last time because we're doing this audio in 2 halves.
Yep.
So we're going to do 3 today. Why did the Master spare 6 of the Berserkers?
To oil him up?
He wanted 3 things from them. Oil them up is no, not oil up. It's you said it earlier.
Yeah. Cover him in exotic unguents.
Yes.
Peel him an urchin was one, I think.
Yes.
Peel us an urchin, yeah.
And
come languish on my throne, shortest at the front, tallest at the back. Drape yourself over me.
He does say that to them, but he gives the reasons for sparing them. He needed someone to pour his wine, bathe him, and then soak his body in unguents.
Okay,
so, yes.
fair enough. I was half right.
Yes,
I'm taking
half
a
right.
half
That's
victory
fine.
on that.
How does the Master introduce himself to Livia? I am
the master and you will obey me? No. No idea.
He is the blackest sheep, the baddest penny, the
that's
ugliest duckling,
right.
the oddest fish.
Yes. The Ugly Duckling is again, it's a Hans Christian Andersen story. It's a parable about being gay. Just saying.
Okay, what does the War Master say that the tight-knit oligarchy of Gallifrey needs?
Shaking up a bit.
Nope.
Oh, God, no.
Clever, discreet little gargoyles.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were so confident.
Oh, see, I've got some good ones that I noticed that I thought you would use. Okay. Now I'm gonna. How did the alternate master describe the death zone?
Oh, I don't know.
Number 1 in 1001 Places to Die Before You See. How did the Old Master describe Narvin?
Oh, no, I don't know that one.
Truly mediocre middle manager.
Oh, I don't think that's fair. I think Narvin's quite effective.
Okay, and just because I thought you would do it, what 3 stories does the War Master...
I was going to make this a question, but then I was like, no, I've got to talk about it, and then I didn't mention that exact quote. But yes, again, it's axons, autons, and there was one at the start that was different to normal. It was it something to do with the mind of evil? No. Yeah, the first one, I think I was too busy going insane over Thrigado when he said that line. No, I don't remember what the first one was, and I know I don't remember what the first one was.
It's Devil's End. So
yep,
the
that's
demons.
Right. Yep.
And when Lemarius is firing into the Panopticon, the Old Master says, "We're something out here."
Oh, no idea.
We're sitting venom ducks.
Oh. I mean, I probably, in my mind, I was thinking we're sitting ducks, but I was like, that can't be the answer to the question.
But
because
sitting venom ducks.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what?
Yes,
so,
again, just going crazy over Thrigado, and again, we get another reference point, which, I didn't make a question because I knew it was just going to come up in that he's nostalgic for that era.
Yeah.
He's always nostalgic for that era. I'm sorry.
Is it him or is it the writers that are nostalgic for that era?
I have to go cry over Thrigado now.
Awesome. Well, I got like a half right, and you got a few right.
Yeah.
But mine don't count. Okay, Amber, what have we learned?
That the Master, when he gets what he wants, that's not actually what he wants. What he wants is to come so close, but miss out.
Yep.
I was going to say something probably inappropriate there.
Go on.
What he really wants is to be edged. So...
Staying in.
That the only person, that's not true. Well, the only person that can beat the Master is the Master, but the Doctor's done that plenty of times. So, yeah, I can see you trying so hard not to laugh. And we learnt that the Unbound Master has gone back to his own different universe, so he finished one.
Yep.
And now he's on to second. We've had one universe. What about second universe? I don't know. I feel like we learn just sort of emotional character things about them. I think that's a cool insight into how one master perceives another. Okay, so I've been given the task of undoing this plan that I've done as a different me. Well, I'll just start undermining myself, and that'll rock my self-confidence, and I'll make a mistake, and
set a master to catch a master.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, maybe the Master would be truly happy to go back through his life and just stop himself winning. Like, that would be, I feel like that's kind of the best thing for the Master, right?
Yeah. I think that's why it's so nostalgic as well for the unit years, because every week it was just a different plan that got thwarted, but next week there was another one, and they just had fun, and that's all they did. They just played their game for week in, week out, and that's all he wants, really.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a very insightful point. Like, that's why he's nostalgic for that, because he kept having to come up, he had to be at his best, at his most creative.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be nostalgic. He hates that.
Yeah.
He's grown to the point where that's not what he wants anymore. But even when he gets what he does want, he doesn't want that. So I guess we can say that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
That's probably in a turmoil. And leading into the next box set that it goes into, if it's into Only the Good, that's probably pretty telling, to as well, because that's that came first.
Yeah.
And this comes before that. To write in retrospect and to create emotions that then push you into another story.
Yeah.
That's really good writing.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is a prequel, essentially, to Only the Good.
Yeah, so these first 4 box sets, which are Only the Good, Master of Callus, The Rage of the Time Lords, and Anti-Genesis, right? It's the story of the War Master escaping the war, basically, the
Yeah.
reasons for doing it. And so when you put this, you're right, in front of Only the Good, where, and you know, after Master of Callus, he has destroyed an entire planet just for this stuff that he can have a chameleon arch,
Yeah.
so he can escape. So like he's already wanting to escape, and then he tries this anti-Genesis thing, and he realizes this time war he can't, like he can win, but at what cost? Like what's left? And I mean, we will get to Only the Good one of these days, but he ends up running into a point where he fucks with time and space, and like the time war, just by the nature of the time war, screws up so much that he sees horrific, horrible things, and so he runs away.
Yeah, and then we kick off into Utopia.
Yeah.
Following on from that, which is also then probably pretty informative for the Saxon Master, Missy, and Dwanma, the Spy Master.
Yeah.
In that those are masters that if you think about them in the context of being after this story and after Only the Good, they are crazier and maybe more carefree and unchained, because they've literally just done everything, failed, come back, and just now it's time to just go feral and have a good time and mess with things because I'm post this.
Could it be a case of, and I mean, this is just from what you just said there, this is just an observation. Do you think the Master have become more unpredictable and more chaotic in a response to this, in a sort of, like, if I was, talking about on a psychological level, like maybe they become more chaotic because the plan where they worked everything perfectly down to the minute detail, they won, but it screwed up. So if they're more chaotic, then more chaotic things will happen around them.
Yeah.
That means they have to be more on their feet, that they might not automatically win everything.
Yeah, there's more outs, I guess.
Like
for
they're
things
trying to half-ass things so that they have to fix mistakes.
Yeah. Like, because it's just, the messier it is, I guess, the more fun it is. Because the Doctor's got to scramble, which means he has to scramble. There isn't just a predictable endpoint. Because I've got to say that the AU Master in this pretty much walks into the scene and goes, "You're going to fail." And the War Master goes, "Oh, God, I'm going to fail." Like, he didn't have to do anything. All he had to say was, "This won't work." And that was all he had to do to stop this plan from working, essentially. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But essentially,
And, like, the fact that we have the Alt Master coming to the War Master, the Alt Master who has spent the last 10,000 years alone after the universe has collapsed, which he caused that.
Yeah.
He caused the collapse of his universe. And, like, he would have been happy to have the universe collapsed so long as he had his 6 berserkers.
Yeah.
Then he would have had someone.
Yeah, just someone to
talk
do stuff
to,
for
someone to look at.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point we haven't mentioned, in that even that AU Master also achieved total victory and then watched another version of himself doing it and went, "Yeah, you don't want that.
You don't want to do that." Like,
yeah, I want a new universe where I can go and play.
Yeah, exactly.
You want that too,
Yeah, like that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to need to find something else, and if you can't, then and that's the thing about the Daleks, right? Like the Master has chosen the Daleks as this thing, and the whole point of the Daleks is they don't want anything other than Daleks.
Yeah.
So if you want to spend the rest of your time in the universe, like if you want to spend the rest of your existence with Daleks, if you're just really into Daleks, if you've got a bit of a plunger fetish, you're good. But you might as well, right? If you're going to have a universe full of Daleks, you might as well just exist in a room with a Dalek. Because it's exactly the same.
Hive mind, yeah. They're all just the same.
All the same.
Yeah. I think this is another plea to everyone out there. This is why Big Finish is so good, but also enhances your viewing of the show.
Yes.
Like, I think now I'll watch the show and understand the Masters in the show differently in my own head.
Yeah.
After this has informed that, because they are post Anti-Genesis and post Only the Good Masters, which are so important in their. It's probably one of the most important things they've ever done.
Yes.
And yeah, it really makes the character feel better and wholer and very well thought out and put together.
Yes, absolutely.
Death count?
Yeah, okay. What do you got?
By my count, we have obviously fluctuating timelines, so
Yeah.
nearly everyone dies. Narvan, Livia, Lamarius, they all
Yep.
are alive and then are
Kraslus,
killed
yeah.
and come back. Kraslus is a death, but a permanent
Permadeath.
permadeath because that happens at the end and undoes everything.
Yes, right.
So I think Kraslus is the only. Well, that's a permanent death. There's also the entire planet and solar system whose sun the Master exploded, which is a typical Big Finish
Yeah.
death count.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But apart from that, I don't think it's another Big Finish. So they're just by the nature of their actions, large amounts of casualties that we just don't see.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose there's all the people that got turned into Daleks.
Yeah, all the Khaleds, and then
Khaleds.
there's like the universe that he's taken over, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a typical Big Finish one with but then a very poignant single named character death.
Yeah. Also, we didn't mention the mutagenic bomb that the War Master builds, and he's just like, this will turn, like, I'm going to give this to the Thals.
That's right.
And the Daleks just like, why? The Thals are inferior. It's just like, yes, but when they use it on the Khaleds, then we go in and get all the time.
Yeah, then we can make more Daleks because all the Khaleds will have no choice but to get in the machines.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, with the completion of this final campaign, our victory is total!
That's all for this week's episode of Please Attend Carefully. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that with each new episode you come to understand, appreciate, and maybe even obey the Master. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to be updated on new episodes. Amber, how can listeners get in contact with us?
They can email us at pleaseattendcarefully@gmail.com, follow us on Instagram at pleaseattendcarefully, or send us an ask on Tumblr at pleaseattendcarefully.
That's right. As of this series, you can also find our episodes on YouTube one of these days. And we now have a Patreon featuring exclusive subscriber content with tiers starting at just $2. I've been Ciarán.
And I've been Amber. We'll leave you with a clue for next week's episode.
We hope you'll be tuning in. After all, it can't hurt you to listen, can it? We are really excited that next week's episode is our first ever interview. Here's some clues about our guest. Ruby Red, House of Masks, and the Haunting of Brick Place.